In a world ruled by deception, one man vows to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. You think you can hide from me? For Detective Marlowe, the hunt is personal. This city has no room for secrets. Why are you doing this? Because I know the truth, but as the walls close in, the hunter becomes the hunted. How far will I go to destroy myself? This January, truth has a price. The rain had subsided by the time Marlowe parked his car outside his modest apartment. The early morning hours had draped the city in an eerie stillness, the streets glistening from the earlier storm. Yet Marlowe's mind churned with restless energy, replaying the events of the night. The wiry man's defiance and the stocky man's rushed explanation echoed in his head, intertwining with his father's voice from years ago. Weakness, his father had called it. A rot in the foundation of society. Marlowe had absorbed that belief, his moral compass forged in the crucible of a rigid upbringing. But tonight, something had shifted. The Crimson Veil, a name that felt both foreign and dangerous, now firmly lodged in his thoughts. He threw his coat over a chair and sat at his small wooden desk, pulling out his notebook. The page from earlier stared back at him, the hastily scrawled words Crimson Veil underlined twice. What kind of place was it? A bar? A hideout? Something illicit, undoubtedly, if those men's behavior was any indication. He tapped his pen against the desk, a slow rhythm that mirrored the growing determination in his chest. This wasn't just about those men anymore. This was about something bigger. A place for people like us, the stocky man had said. Marlowe's lips tightened at the memory. If there was a secret group operating in his city, fostering behaviors he'd been taught to abhor, then it was his duty to uncover it. Not just as a detective, but as a man who understood the fragility of order. He flipped open the phone book and began searching. His initial queries yielded nothing. No registered businesses, no public establishments. Frustration gnawed at him, but it only fueled his resolve. He knew that secrets didn't stay hidden for long in a city like this. All he needed was one thread, one slip-up to pull the veil back entirely. Hours passed, the desk lamp casting a harsh glow as the rain began to fall again outside. Marlowe's coffee had gone cold, but he hardly noticed. His notes sprawled across the desk, a chaotic web of names, locations, and questions. Each connection felt tenuous, yet he couldn't shake the feeling that he was on the verge of something significant. Over the next few days, Marlowe's focus narrowed. Between shifts, he scoured city records, cross-referenced licenses, and visited bars and clubs under the guise of routine patrols. His colleagues noticed the change in him, though they dared not comment on it directly. Marlowe's intensity had always been his hallmark. It was what made him a great detective. But this time, it bordered on something more personal. At one dive bar, he struck gold. The bartender, a grizzled man with a face as weathered as the bar top, hesitated when Marlowe casually mentioned the Crimson Veil. "Never heard of it," the man said too quickly, his eyes darting away. Marlowe leaned forward, his tone soft but insistent. "Listen, I'm not looking to bust anyone. I just need to know what's going on in my city. People talk about this place like it's some kind of ghost. Help me out here." The bartender's jaw tightened, and for a moment, Marlowe thought he'd get nothing. Then, with a reluctant sigh, the man leaned closer. "It's not a place you'll find in any directory. It moves around. Private invites only." You don't get in unless you're one of them." "One of who?" Marlowe pressed. The bartender shook his head, retreating behind his wall of silence. "That's all I know. And if you're smart, you'll let it go." But letting go wasn't in Marlowe's nature. That night, he sat in his car, parked outside the bar, and watched. He saw patrons come and go, noting faces, behaviors, and license plates. He began building a picture, though it was far from complete. His notes grew more detailed with each passing night. The Crimson Veil was like a ghost, always one step ahead, but Marlowe was determined to catch it. The more he uncovered, the more certain he became that this wasn't just a club. It was a movement, a hidden world operating right under the city's nose. As Marlowe's obsession deepened, so did the tension at work. His partner, Detective Leah Carter, noticed the shift first. They had worked together for years, their dynamic one of mutual respect despite their differing approaches. "You've been distracted lately," she said one afternoon as they worked a robbery case. Marlowe didn't look up from his notes. "Just following up on something." "Following up or chasing ghosts?" Carter's tone was light, but there was an edge to her words. "You've got that look again, the one you get when you're about to dig yourself into a hole." Marlowe bristled. "I'm doing my job." "Your job is solving cases," she shot back. "Not whatever this is." Their conversation was cut short by a call, but the seed of tension had been planted. Over the next week, Carter's patience wore thin as Marlowe continued to divert his attention. The cracks in their partnership widened, and whispers began circulating among their colleagues. Marlowe heard the murmurs, but ignored them. He wasn't chasing ghosts. He was chasing the truth. Marlowe's persistence finally paid off one night, when a familiar face from the dive bar appeared outside a nondescript building in the industrial district. Marlowe had tailed the man for weeks, tracking his movements and piecing together his routine. Tonight, he watched as the man approached a heavy steel door and handed something to the doorman. A small card, barely visible in the dim light. Moments later, the man disappeared inside. Marlowe's pulse quickened. He waited for the coast to clear before stepping out of his car and approaching the building. The doorman, a burly figure with a menacing air, eyed him suspiciously. "Got an invite?" the doorman asked, his voice like gravel. Marlowe hesitated, then tried bluffing. "I was told to meet someone here. They're expecting me." The doorman's expression didn't change. "No invite, no entry." Marlowe clenched his fist, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. He stepped back, retreating to his car, but his mind raced. He had seen enough to confirm his suspicions. The Crimson Veil wasn't just a club. It was a secret world, hidden in plain sight. And now, more than ever, he was determined to expose it. As Marlowe drove away from the industrial district, his mind was a whirlwind of plans and possibilities. He'd come so close to uncovering the truth, but there were still pieces missing. Who ran the Crimson Veil? What happened inside? And why had it remained hidden for so long? He glanced at his notebook, now filled with scribbled notes, addresses, and license plate numbers. The answers were within reach, but he knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. The people who frequented that club weren't just hiding from society's judgment. They were protecting something, and Marlowe was determined to find out what. In the dim glow of the streetlights, Marlowe's resolve hardened. This wasn't just about the club anymore. It was about protecting the city, about ensuring that order prevailed over chaos. But deep down, a small, unacknowledged part of him knew it was also about proving something to himself, about confronting the shadows that lingered in his own mind. The city stretched out before him, vast and unyielding. Somewhere out there, the crimson veil awaited, and Marlowe would stop at nothing to tear it down. And that's where this episode ends. But trust me, the story is just getting started. In the next part, things take an unexpected turn, and secrets you never saw coming will be revealed. You don't want to miss it. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, so you're the first to catch the next episode. And if you're as hooked as I am, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Got any theories or guesses about what might happen next? Share them, I'd love to hear them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode of The Gay Hunter. Until then, stay curious and stay tuned.